Sad će nam prezentirati naša prijateljica Kira iz Austrije. Ona je profesor i nefrolog, ali sama će se predstaviti jer ja slomljen jezik na njenom prezimenu. Dođite.
Thank you for the invitation for this talk, Maria, and dear colleagues. So my topic is Natalie of Old Europe, and I have no interests to declare, no conflict of interests. So there was in the source here of this picture is Eurostat. Eurostat is a stats program of the European Union. And almost all the pictures and data you see here is from the European Union, from Eurostat. And yeah, so this spring there was an article, or actually an outcry, because 5.4% decrease in live births happened in 2023. So that was a record drop in children being born in the European Union. And the total fertility rate, which is live births per woman, dropped from 1.46 in 22 to 1.38 live births. Well, here you see the number of live births for all European countries from 61 to 23. You see you have in the start, well, you see the 60s, the baby boom, and then it went further down and down. So you have to take in mind that over the last centuries, usually women would get their children very early in their adolescence. And we had like 5 generations per 100 years. Now we have only 2.5 to 3 generations per 100 years. So this you have also to take into account. And here the yellow line, you see that women are getting older when they get their first child. So there is a drift. You see the blue bars. The blue bars are the ages in which women get their first child in 23. A decade later, there's a shift to the right. Until 23, there's even a more shift to the right. So the average aged women is almost 30 years to get the first child. So here you see the fertility rates all over European countries. The darker the color, the less children they get, the more children they get. You see here the dark blue France. France is very good because in France, since decades, they have a very social approach to children care. So the smallest ones and also kindergarten, everything is paid for, and they have it all over France. So it doesn't matter if you are a single mother or married or unmarried or whatever you work full-time or not, there is care for your children. You don't have to pay for it, and therefore they have the highest fertility rate in Europe. You see Croatia is in the middle. In Croatia, women have 1.4 to 1.5 children, and Austria is less good. We have 1.3 to 1.4 children, and very bad is Spain, you see here in yellow, and they have less than 1.2 children per woman. So, and here you see only from the last decades, since this century, since millennium, And you see the blue line are the 27 countries of the European Union, and the black line are the Eurozone, 20 countries in addition in Europe. And you see that in the beginning of the millennium, fertility rate was raising, and there were around 1.5 to 1.6 children per woman, and then it dropped during the last years, and it dropped tremendous during the last 3 years. So we have to ask the questions, what happened in that year where there was an enormous trend? And you would maybe think it would be the year 2020 where the pandemic started, but no, that's not true. It is actually the year 21. So in 2020, a lot of women actually got pregnant, or gave live birth than in 21. So I want to show you here a single very interesting example from the German countries. And you have the darker line, which is East Germany, and the blue line, which represents West Germany. That's the fertility rate, children per woman over time in these both countries. And you see that in the middle, you have in the start the baby boom, and in the middle you see that there was a harsh decline, and only in the dark line, East Germany, that was the year 1989. You all remember it was a fall of the wall. And what happened that in Eastern Germany at that time point, women had less children, like half of them. So of course, one of the major reasons was probably freedom, personal freedom to choose where to live, to choose where to go, to choose the own preference of what to do with life, what to study, where to go. And a lot of these young women in childbearing age actually went to big cities in the West. And the second main reason of that drop is that the Western Germany, who took over the whole Germany after reunification, decided that they close most of the kindergartens in the East. So the daughters didn't know how to manage job and the children without having the daily care provided by the government. So you see there's many reasons why women decide to have no children. So we have economic, social, psychological, but of course also biological reasons. So, let's have a view in the last years, what happened during the last years. And you see that actually it is repeated here. This is only for Germany, only to have a precise look. I could find all the data in this Tastis. It's actually the stats program. It's freely online available from the German government. And you see for all born children in red, the red line, and you can see that in light blue is the first children born, the second in dark, and third and more in black. So you see that all women, and I can show you this also for everything, unmarried, married. So for all women living in that country, also foreign women, they have the same, was the same effect in 2020 to 21. There were more children born and then less afterwards. So here I looked at abortion rates, and that is consistent. So in 21, there were less abortion, probably because of the pandemic. People said, hey, we have a pandemic, we have so much threatening, I'm pregnant, I do want to have that child. So this may be one reason why there were less abortions, because it's only one peak. And if you could also argument there were, because of the lockdowns, more people, more not available clinics for abortion clinics, but that's not true. So yes. So then a very complicated picture. You see that population migration in Germany changed over time. Since the 60s, you have more people dying than people being born. And also the migration waves can not actually fill the gap of birth deficits in Germany. And well, so what else happened, which is important? Okay, we have an older population, a population dying, more people are dying. But what happened in the last 4 years? You see there's an explicit numbers of excess death. And this is actually from European from Eurostat. So this is in all countries pooled. And even the life expectancy at birth went down during the last 4 years. So and here you see from another stats program from Euromomo, which are the mortality rates in Europe, in Europe countries. And here you see all European countries. And you see, excuse me. Oh, wait. No, I didn't. I need to have now. There we are. Okay, wait. I need to go back. Wait. Well, that's it. Yes. So all you see here on the first line, first picture, is the excess mortality of all European countries from 2020 to 25. What you see here is it starts in winter 2020. And you see in winter 2020 and the first year of 2020, it was still in the mortality was still in the expected lines. The baseline lines are the dotted gray dots. And when you have a substantial increase in mortality, then this is a line, the red dots. And here you see there was from August 2020 a tremendous increase in excess mortality. And then, of course, you know that mortality changes between summer and winter. We have always like most people dying in winter and not in summer. That is normal. But you see here the extreme excess mortality of the last years. And even in children aged 0 to 14, the excess mortality was here until the year 2023. Well, if you look at the diagnosis codes in Germany, this is again from the German government Distastes, you see that we have a tremendous increase coding for unknown cause of death, which is rather strange in a country like Germany. And this is actually true for men and women. So, and the excess mortality is still continuing. You see here in gray 23, in yellow 24, and in blue 25. Only for the children, you see that now in the year 25, it's going down into the normal ranges again. So, and Eurostat says that the excess mortality from 2020 to 23 varied greatly. In Europe, it was Italy who had the first peak in March. But then in October 22, there were little or no excess death in countries like Bulgaria and Romania. While the most affected countries was Germany, with a recorded excess mortality rate of 23%. Well, if you see here change in unemployment, and you know that Germany and also Austria, we have a big issue with unemployment, with economy. Actually, Austria is really, really bad. You see it on the right side. This is actually, the bars are negative. It's a change in compared of unemployment compared to 2019. So economy is really bad. You see, you are doing better here in Croatia. Very good, actually. And very good also Poland and Romania. So there's something happening which is totally unusual, I would say. So let's look back here on this really tremendous drop of fertility rate. And there are data, and here you see it's data from diagnosis in Germany, and they actually made a 9 months lag. They put the first and second curve here in red of the vaccination waves, and they can correlate this with a rapid decline of live birth. These are data from the European Medical Agency, and never ever had there been so many impairments recorded of the female reproductive organs. And you know, usually we have an underreportment of only 10% of the true numbers. And you see the biggest issues were heavy menstrual bleedings, dysmenorrhea, irregular menstruations, and so on. I can tell out of my private practice, I had 2 young women in 2020 who had, after the second vaccination, went after strong bleeding into stage of secondary amenorrhea, and it stayed like that. Well, there are now, I'm almost finishing, there are only 5, 6 more slides, to studies. I wanted to find studies who support these findings, and most of them studies have the limitations that they cannot, they can only find, or they are only investigating women who actually, which pregnancy ended in live birth. but most of the studies were unable to assess severe birth defects that resulted in stillbirth or other non-live birth outcomes. Yeah, so, well, and of course, there's a major conflict of interest in most of the studies reported. And, well, and yeah. So there's another study from a large cohort, but they could find that the safety of SARS-CoV-2 vaccination during pregnancy is not a good thing. And they found that women who were vaccinated in the second trimester were more likely to have a preterm birth. And this association persisted after adjusting for potential co-founders. Then here are data from the Czech Republic. And you see the blue bars is the timetable from 21 to 23 of the percentage of women aged 18 to 39 who at least got one COVID-19 vaccine. And you see the light blue bars that is a percentage of women who gave who had successful conceptions. And you see they stayed above the general black line compared to the excuse me, the other way around. So the unvaccinated women had successful conceptions impaired to the vaccinated women, and that is still continuing. There's a big and the only prospective observational forward study in a really huge study of from Berlin. They have a program, the embryotox.de, and you see here that they can only show little, but also, although there might be a trend, there were no statistical significant observations for the risk of congenital malformations. Maybe a trend in the heart defects, and also there was a major issue with loss of follow-up. And but they conclude, this is quite interesting, they conclude there were no statistically increased risk of major malformations, but possible associations with cardiac defects cannot be ruled out. If a modified RNA COVID-19 vaccination is considered in women of reproductive age, it should preferably be offered before conception or after the first trimester. So here you see a Swiss study in experimental rats. And here, these rats were given COVID-19 vaccines, and you had high statistical deterioration of all number of follicles in all states of the female cycle. And this is only 2 or 3 weeks ago. You see from Josh Gutzko, he is highly discussed in alternative public discussion forums on the internet. And he found that the observed to expected fetal losses following modified RNA COVID-19 vaccination in early pregnancy is tremendous. You see that here. This is the black line. There is yeah, you see here there's a fetal loss per 100 pregnancy, you have more fetal losses than expected. And the last slide, you see it here compared to pregnant women vaccinated with normal influenza vaccines. There is a tremendous difference between these vaccines. So be aware that the definition of what a vaccine is was changed during the past years in all European countries, in most countries of the world. And in addition, well, let me conclude. The ongoing drop in fertility rate in Europe, old and new, might be caused by biological, economical, psychological, and social causes, and should be investigated in all those fields. Thank you.